Good evening, everyone, or morning, or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. So, I had a conversation with my best friend a couple of days ago, and I was a little too drunk. I had had a few, and I got really, whiny and complainy, um, and I was basically just telling him, I feel like I am behind in life. I feel like I missed the curve. I'm, I'm 28 and I'm unemployed. I had to move back home. I really thought that Arizona would work out, and all of my hopes and dreams have been crushed under the footheel of life. And he reminded me of this Yiddish proverb that says, "We plan and God laughs." Now, I definitely am a believer in God, but I am not a religious man. I am a spiritual man, but I am not a religious man. But it still applies. It's true. You know, we plan and God laughs, meaning even if you're an atheist, right? Even if you're agnostic, even if you're not a particularly spiritual individual, that could still apply to you. And the reason I say that is because life never really goes according to plan. As much as we try to plan for the future and hope and pray that everything is going to turn out exactly the way that we want it, that's not how life works. People want it to work that way, and people insist that it work that way, but it doesn't work that way. I still think that it's good to make plans, because if you don't make plans, you stay stagnant. If you're not moving forward in an upward trajectory, you stay stagnant. You know, I am a bit of a control freak. And I used to think that my biggest flaw was impatience, or it was my temper, or it was the fact that I'm overly emotional. I used to think that those things were my flaws, or my biggest flaws. I realized that that's not true. My biggest flaw is that I'm a bit of a control freak. I want everything my way all the time, 24/7, and if there's one thing I've learned this year, it's to just let go. Just let go, man. Because you have a dream, you have a goal, great. You should. And you shouldn't give up until you achieve it. But don't worry about the how. Right? Don't worry about the how. Put that in the higher power's hands. Whatever higher power you believe in. Put that in the universe's hands. Put that in God's hands. I've spent so much time trying to grab onto brass rings, and they're imaginary. I am waiting in the parking lot right now. I'm about to head into my first day of work at BMW. There's a lot of things I said I would never do. I said I would never work third shift ever again. Here I am. I said I would never work for BMW because I've heard too many horror stories. Here I am. I said there was absolutely no way in hell on God's green earth that I was going to come back home. Here we are. I've learned not to say never. I've learned to be more open. And I think I've set myself free. You know. I've spent so much time just trying to bend the universe to my will, but it just doesn't work that way. We're given choices in life, and we're given pathways, and we have different pathways that we can take that lead to different outcomes. But we don't know what those outcomes are going to be. I think anxiety comes from a place of trying to control everything. It comes from a place of you want to have 100% certainty and try to predict the future of what a certain decision is going to be and what outcome it's going to lead to. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. And I've made myself neurotic, and I've made myself crazy trying to get everything to go my way. And the beautiful thing about life is that things don't always go your way. In fact, more often than not, they're not going to go your way. And you have to just go along for the ride. I didn't know whether or not Arizona was going to work out. I went along for the ride. I don't know whether or not this is going to work out. I'm in it for the ride. I have a goal now of saving $20,000 and pursuing my dreams full-time by, putting my 2-week notice in and whatever job that I'm working and quitting and just doing the YouTube thing and doing music full-time and nothing else. Now, I have a timeline. I have a timeline as far as when I would like to accomplish that. But I can't tell you for certain whether or not my plans are going to pan out. And I've had to learn to accept that and not try to predict the future. It's tough, but it's the only way. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that, in case you're stressed out like I've been stressed out. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I will see you all again in the next video. Peace, love, and light.